Hey, good evening, Saints fans and Hootats, and welcome to our Halloween special. This is Kyle T. Mosley here with the Bayou Blitz. I have my good friend, Mr. Bob Rose, here. We're going to talk about some Saints football. What's going on, Bob?
Not a lot, Kyle. Happy early Halloween to you and your family. Happy Halloween to all you folks, all you Bayou Blitzers turning in tonight. I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up. And obviously we have Saints Bears on Sunday to celebrate All Saints Day. But before that, definitely have yourself a safe and festive Halloween tomorrow.
Yeah, happy Boodat to you. Boodat. All right, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about the Saints, what's going on in the Hoodat Nation, as well as preview the Bears game for you and talk a little bit about some nonsensical stuff. But if you guys would like to join Bob and I on the air, hit us up in the comment section below, either on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. We will respond. If you just have a comment or two, we will show those on the air. But don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to be able to follow us on YouTube. We also have a good following that we have gotten from the YouTube channel, so do that as well. And if you guys don't know, you can follow us at Saints News on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. Okay, Bob, let's talk about what's going on in the Hoodat Nation. The New Orleans Saints are going up to Soldier Field, the legendary Soldier Field, where Gale Sayers, rest in peace, Gale. He just passed away. And you look at Alvin Kamara, man. He and Gale have such a similar smooth running style to both of them, So I want to talk a little bit about that as well. But first, let's talk about what's happening with the wide receivers. We have 3 wide receivers who are down and out for the game. Give us some details.
Yeah, we do, Kyle. And maybe you and I should be expecting a call from Coach Payton any minute to suit up on the shores of Lake Michigan because they're going through bodies fast in New Orleans Saints Nation right now at specifically wide receiver. Like you said, the team will be missing Michael Thomas, who is going to be out for the 6th consecutive game. This is the 2nd straight week. His hamstring injury is going to keep him on the sideline. Listen, I don't think it's a long-term thing. They said from the time he injured it that it should keep him out 1 to 2 games, and this would be the 2nd of the 2 games. Then, of course, Emmanuel Sanders is still on the reserve COVID list, and no word on his return. But more importantly for that young man, we're hoping for his health and for him to bounce back. But all indications are he's feeling okay and on his way to recovery. And then, of course, Kyle, your man, the man, the myth, the legend, Marquez Callaway, tweaked an ankle towards the end of last Sunday's victory over the Panthers. He was looking like a go early in the week, and then I don't know if he had a setback or whether it just didn't progress like the team or player had hoped. But Callaway is going to be down this week as well. So that leaves the Saints. I expect them to start Traquan Smith, who is, as it stands right now, the old man of the Saints receiving corps in his 3rd year. Deontay Harris, who had a really encouraging game last week against Carolina. And don't forget about Ty Montgomery either. They activated him from injured reserve in preparation for last Sunday. I don't know if he saw any offensive snaps. If they weren't consequential. But I expect Ty to potentially play a bigger role this game as well. And obviously, we should expect to see Austin Carr activated from the practice squad also.
Yeah. And don't forget, Jawan Johnson was also activated and called up. So there's a possibility of him being able to play as well. There's no word on Lil Jordan Humphrey. I know some people have been asking about that. I think he's still on the IR list, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure you're right, Kyle. I don't know if it was a season-ending injury, but I do not remember seeing or hearing anything about the Saints activating Lil Jordan from IR, so we know he's not going to be available.
Right, right. So, guys, when you look at what's going to happen on Sunday, the Bears defense they're very good when it comes to the pass rush. You have Khalil Mack, you have Robert Quinn, right? And those guys have done pretty well, but I say it with a caveat. One caveat is, who did they really play this season?
Right.
Right? And the only true test I believe they did have was the Buccaneers and the Packers, right? You saw, well, let's stick with the defense before I go to the offense, right? I think the Saints are not in that desperate of a situation for this game as many people may believe they are. And I think when it comes to our rushing game, Bob, what do you see there? How can the Saints be able to capitalize in the rushing attack and be able to put some alleviate some of the pressure from the passing game?
Well, and that's just it, Kyle. The Saints are going to have to establish the run with both Murray and Alvin Kamara early and often. We're not talking about the old 72 Dolphins here where they're only going to have Drew Brees throw the ball 8 or 10 times. But for this offense to be effective, Kamara and Murray both have to have good games. And I think they will, because even as formidable as Chicago's front seven is, like you pointed out, they have been a little bit vulnerable to the run this year. They rank somewhere around the middle of the league, but the Bears defense has not stifled their opponents in the running attack like we've been used to seeing over the last couple of seasons. So I think that if the Saints establish control of the line of scrimmage, much like we saw last week against Carolina, not only getting push against for the Saints offensive line to get push against that defensive front, but probably even more importantly, open up cutback lanes. And that's where we saw Murray and Kamara be so effective last week against Carolina, earlier in the season against Detroit, is that the initial hole wasn't necessarily there, but Latavius and Alvin are such sharp cutback runners, and that's where they're going to get their big gainers. That's where Kamara and Murray are going to have the athletic advantage. If they have those cutback lanes, they're athletically superior to the linebackers that they're going to be facing from Chicago in Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan. So I can see the Saints being extremely effective in the running game. And of course, as you know, Kyle, what that's going to do, that can only help their passing game, because that doesn't allow their pass rushers to tee off on Brees. It gives the Bears safeties a little bit of a second look into the Saints backfield just to see what they're going to do, which gives that shorthanded receiving core a distinct advantage.
Definitely. I think one thing that is missing in this whole process is that the games the Saints have won, the games often started with positive running aspects, right? And Sean Payton stuck with the run, right? If you look at the Raiders game, how well they were doing at halftime in the Raiders game, we were assuming that they were going to continue to be able to run the ball, and they got away from it, and it got them in trouble as well, in my opinion. So I think the run brings a lot of balance to this Saints offense and being able to capitalize on taking advantage of, like you said, the cutback lanes, because when you have an aggressive front seven like in the Bears, they become susceptible to the different cutbacks, and other lanes open up on the backside of the defense as a result. All right. So those are some of the thoughts there about the Saints offense. Anything else? I think Jared Cook and the tight ends might be in good position with this game as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And you and I wrote about that and touched on that in our articles earlier in the week. That the Bears, Bears defense has been susceptible to tight ends. Not in the way that they're giving up 10 catches and 150 yards or anything ridiculous like that, but down near the goal line and deeper down the middle, we have seen the opposition hit on some big plays against Chicago this year. Saw it against the Rams on Monday night when the Rams beat the Bears, and we saw Tom Brady and his tight ends have some success against them earlier in the year as well, not only down the middle, but down the seam, where, of course, is an area that Jared Cook thrives. And Cook leads the Saints in yards per reception right now, which I think is a very telling statistic, not just because of the receiving issues that the Saints had earlier in the year, but Cook is making the most of his targets is what you can take away from that statistic. He's only catching maybe 3 passes a game, but you can bank on, like you pointed out in the Saints' victories, it's Cook that has been the one to make the passing plays down the field. And I would expect that same kind of attack and approach from New Orleans again on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball. Now, you and I both were guests on Jordy Huckberg's show, and you are regular on every Tuesday. You guys need to listen to my good stuff. One thing that's concerning a lot of people, Bob, is our secondary. And right now, I don't want to dump on just one player, but I think we have several players that we can be able to point out as having some deficiencies, right? So let's just start off with the safeties. Right now, the safety play hasn't been up to snuff. We have Malcolm Jenkins, who many believe that was going to come in and be like the stabilizing force of the secondary for the New Orleans Saints. It hasn't translated much into positive play thus far, right? And you have the young man, Marcus Williams, who at this point in his career, you thought we will see a little bit more positive plays on his side as well. What's going on with those safeties? What's really ailing both of them at this time?
A little bit of everything, if you ask me. Neither one of us are inside the heads of Marcus Williams or Malcolm Jenkins, but their play has been downright putrid. I'll just come out and say it. I noticed you were kind of stumbling trying to come up with something nice to say. I don't have anything nice to say about the Saints safeties right now. First of all, let's start with Marcus Williams. He is still a poor tackler. Something that he and the team talked about improving last year. We haven't seen that kind of improvement, and even worse so for a deep safety, for your last line of defense. He is consistently out of position, making poor decisions, and frankly, he's leaving his cornerbacks out to dry. And the cornerbacks have not been playing up to snuff either, outside of maybe Janoris Jenkins. But when you don't have any kind of deep support or any kind of deep support that you have confidence in, that's going to affect your game as a cornerback also. Trust me. And then you move over to Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm was never strong in coverage, even in his physical prime. But he has regressed badly in that area. Opponents know it, and they take quick advantage of it. When Malcolm Jenkins is in any kind of coverage responsibility, and folks, if you don't believe me, go back and watch the film of any New Orleans game this year. You can literally see that quarterback's eyes light up from underneath of his helmet, and that's his first look. Tight ends, the tight end position was eating this defense alive earlier in the season. Now, credit to Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, for making adjustments, and we're often seeing Demario Davis or Alex Anzalone on tight ends now instead of Jenkins. They're using Jenkins more as an in-the-box safety, which is still a strength of his. He's a good tackler. He's an outstanding blitzer, and he has good play recognition. But, man, if Malcolm is dropped back deep in coverage, he's every bit the liability that Marcus Williams is. And I know that the Bears don't have a great passing numbers, And outside of Allen Robinson, who may not even play in this game, they don't have receivers that are going to jump off of the chart at you. But trust me, folks, this Bears receiving core has players that can beat you if the Saints safety play continues to be so bad.
Okay.
I can't be friendly with them anymore. I can't.
And guys, let's go to the numbers. So let's take the feelings out of the equation. Let's get down to some numbers. When you look at Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams, the numbers are alarming. So on 23 targets for Jenkins and 11 targets for Williams, the passer rating for Jenkins, what I mean is when the opposing quarterback is targeting the receivers on Jenkins and Williams. Jenkins allows 134.2 passer rating. Marcus Williams allows 120.5 passer rating. Jenkins has given up 211 yards in receptions to opposing receivers. Marcus Williams only 74. However, this is the one couple of alarming stats from both of these guys. After initial contact, Jenkins gives up 74 yards. Marcus Williams gives up 104 yards.
Wow.
Okay. So if you look at those numbers there, Bob, those numbers should be, we have a problem, right? Okay.
Yes,
all right. Now, like I said, I don't want to belabor the point and talk negatively about just one person, but both of the guys have not been the best. If you compare that to the Vikings, I think you listed Harrison Smith as a potential trade partner with the New Orleans Saints. And I know there's some cap situations that the Saints will have to maneuver to be able to get Smith into the fold, right? So Smith has had 6 targets this year. He's only allowed a passer rating of 40.3. Okay. Not only that, he's had 1 pass breakup, and if I'm not mistaken, in my numbers, I don't even recall Marcus Williams having a pass breakup this season, and Jenkins has had only 1. Okay? All right. Harrison Smith has had 1 interception. He allows only 52 yards this whole season given up to receivers, only 52 yards. And he only allows 26 yards in yak. Okay. So are we harping on these guys too bad?
No, Kyle, I don't think we are. Mainly because they are the ones, again, this is your last line of defense you're talking about. And they are the ones that are giving up most of the big plays against the secondary. We've been down a little bit on the Saints cornerbacks too, and it's certainly, like you pointed out a couple times.
Oh, I have numbers for them too.
I'm sure. The defensive struggles, the past defensive struggles, are certainly not all the fault of Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams.
No.
You start up front. The Saints have pressured quarterbacks well, but we've seen several times that they haven't been able to finish plays, allowing quarterbacks to escape and make plays down the field. You're about to get into the cornerback, so I'll skip over that. But it's plays like we saw against the Panthers last week. When DJ Moore caught that, I think it was for 74 yards, 70-something yard touchdown pass. That is the perfect microcosm for the safety play that we have seen from the New Orleans Saints this year. Marcus Williams took the brunt of that criticism, but look at that play again. Yes, Williams made the poor decision on biting on a shorter fake, when you have a capable receiver like DJ Moore flying down the sideline. So Williams is responsible for the poor decision. Malcolm Jenkins is back there as well. If you click on that play and look, Malcolm Jenkins was slow coming over the top. So for all we know, Williams thought that he had support beside of him and behind him, and Jenkins was slow getting over. So that's the poor communication. And we have seen both from these players week in and week out for big pass plays, backbreaking, crippling type of pass plays. And if it's not a completion, it's a penalty, which Marcus Williams I had one or two of also on Sunday.
Okay. Longest plays this season. 0, 31, 18, 31, 6, and 74 yards. That was credited to Malcolm Jenkins. Okay. I didn't do Williams, but I just thought that was interesting. Malcolm has not been playing very well this season. And I'm not trying to dog Malcolm out, but it's a problem. It's a problem. Okay, now let's go over. Let's see here. Okay, we got some comments before we start talking about these guys on the corners. Arlene wants to know, is there something wrong with the locker room? She's been hearing disturbing rumors what's happening inside the locker room. I haven't heard anything anything substantive, right? Have you? Anything to your knowledge?
No, I haven't either. Obviously, we were hearing a lot of rumors early in the season with the locker room chemistry. Before the Saints even took the field in a game that mattered, and then those kind of same rumors cropped up again when Michael Thomas had his practice brawl with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Listen, and Arlene, that's a good question. It is a good question, and certainly one to be concerned about if there were issues there. But this group of Saints players, they are legitimately close, and the majority of them, have legitimate like for each other, and they're certainly going to fight for each other. Practice fights happen. This was one that admittedly got out of hand, and Coach Payton had to take the disciplinary steps towards Michael Thomas, who, by the way, I didn't think was going to play against in that Charger game anyway. Just my own personal opinion. But he had to make an example because that is the kind of thing that could help spiral a season out of control. And the Saints really have pulled together. You look at how well this team has played on both sides of the ball at times with the injuries that they have had. And part of that is certainly a testament to the depth, to the strength of how deep this team is. But it's also truly a next man up mentality. With this New Orleans Saints team. And if your locker room wasn't close, you wouldn't have that type of mentality. So while Arlene, it's a good question to ask, and we thank you for asking it, I don't perceive it really being a problem.
Okay. Jason wants to know about Sanu. Is he out there, and can he be able to help us out?
Sanu certainly has good, he's a terrific receiver. And New Orleans, unfortunately, is very familiar with Muhammad due to his time in Atlanta. But I don't see the Saints making him any kind of significant move at wide receiver here, mainly because it takes so long to pick up the nuances of a Sean Payton offense. Just ask Emmanuel Sanders, and we saw that kind of slow start from him this year. The Saints have a good depth chart at receiver. And again, the Michael Thomas hamstring injury, it shouldn't be a long-term concern. Same with Callaway's ankle injury. And we expect to see Emmanuel Sanders back on the field and back in action in a week or two as well. So think of it this way. And Jason Williams, I see your comment specifically about Will Fuller, Golden Tate, who I think would be a great fit in this offense, or AJ Green. I'm not denying the talent of any of those players. I'm not. But when you have a Michael Thomas back healthy, Emmanuel Sanders back in the lineup, Callaway who's emerging, and good, decent complementary targets in Deontay Harris and Traquan Smith. There's only one football to go around, and you still got to get Jared Cook and Alvin Kamara involved in this passing offense. So I can't, unless Thomas has a more serious injury than the team is letting on, and there's no reason to think that. I can't see the Saints making a move at wide receiver.
Right. Look, the one name that he did have up here that's very intriguing, I think Golden Tate is more along a similar skill set of Emmanuel Sanders, right? AJ Green, 32 now? 31, 32, kind of right there. But the one name here that's intriguing is Will Fuller for me. And, I've seen him enough in Houston to know that he can be that downfield threat that the Saints need. Okay.
Yeah, he sure can. I'm a big fan of Fuller too. He had some injury problems his first couple years in the league.
Still has injury problems. He still has. Yeah, he has hamstring issues.
Yeah, so I mean, do you really want to invest in a guy, that might not be even available long term because of injury? And what kind of capital, probably draft picks, are you willing to give up for a guy like Fuller or even Golden Tate? Again, when you have so many weapons in the Saints receiving core already, once they get healthy.
Yeah, I think Fuller at this point would be as high as a 4, probably a 5 or a 6, So that's just my opinion, Bob. Let's see, a couple other quick comments. Jason wants to know if Loomis is on vacation. He hasn't done anything yet. Okay, Jace. All right. And what has happened to Marcus Williams? We talked a little bit about him, as well as Marshawn Lattimore. We will get into. But Troutman and Zach Bond, the two rookies, man. Troutman hasn't been as active lately. He only had one target on last week. But he is active blocking. I still have to say he's still a part of the game plan to help in the blocking. Do you think his maturity in the system will get better throughout the rest of the season?
I do. And I said that about Adam from the start, when we were doing our training camp write-ups, and even in post-draft, for that matter. I think that the Saints moved up to pick Adam Troutman in the 3rd round with the eye for 2021 and beyond. They know you have Jared Cook at the position this year. Jared is likely going to be a free agent, a high-priced free agent at season's end. And with so many other cap concerns that this team and Mickey Loomis has on their plate, I have a hard time seeing Jared Cook back in a Saints uniform beyond this season. That's why you make a pick for Adam Troutman, and hopes that he's going to make a big play or two, for you as a rookie. And again, just like we talked about with wide receivers, it's going to be the same with tight ends. It's going to take a while for Adam to pick up this Sean Payton offense. Not to mention the fact that Adam comes from a small school. Remember, Dayton, who's not used to playing the Alabamas, Clemson's, Florida's, LSU's of the world. So it's a bigger step up for him competition-wise than what it would be if a guy was coming out of an Alabama or one of the power conferences. So Troutman has that to contend with as well. But like you pointed out, Kyle, and coaches have actually gone out of their way in pointing out how impressed they are with Troutman's blocking. Troutman is a tremendous athlete. And he does, the film on him coming out of college, he does run good routes and has good route understanding. Those are 3 things that you want in your tight end. It's just taking him a little bit to get going. That's all. I wouldn't be so quick to jump on his case quite yet. Mainly because the Saints don't necessarily need him. Like I said, I think that they made that pick for future seasons rather than this one.
Yeah, and on Zach Bond, Zach has been playing a lot more recently. He has had an increase in his snaps. He did miss a tackle on last weekend. He did have one tackle, miss one, and he has been playing a lot of special teams as well. So Zach Bond, I don't know if it's too early to tell, I would say, on Zach Bond. They must see something in him where they have been increasing the number of times he's been on the field, right? So I think, okay, I'm going to say this. He's going to be outside. It's going to be cold weather. The kids used to cold weather and playing in Wisconsin. I think this weekend might be a good test to see what we have in Zach Bond. I'm just going out there. What you think, Bob?
You know what, Kyle? I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, I can see it. And listen, Bond has the issue with Bond right now is this. What did he do best and most often at Wisconsin? He rushed the passer. The Saints and Sean Payton has said it, and so has Dennis Allen. They drafted him with the ideal to turn him into a more traditional linebacker, while using him on blitzes occasionally. Well, you didn't do very much of that in college. He's athletic enough to fit into that role, no doubt. But you can't just throw a guy out there in NFL coverages and expect him to pick it up and not be a liability. New Orleans has enough of that going on in the secondary. So right now, anytime we see Zach Bond on the field, it's basically those coaches telling him, okay, your job is going to be in certain alignments or formations with the idea that, I'm sorry about Will. I know you hear him.
Yeah, I love Will. That's my boy, man.
He's actually shadow boxing back here. Zach Bond's going to be on the field only in certain alignments with the instruction to go get the passer. Well, who do the Saints have on the edge right now? Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Trey Hendrickson, and Carl Granderson can't even get onto the field as often because of those three. So Bond is playing a loaded position right now. And that's why we're only going to see him 10, 12, maybe 15 defensive snaps.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And one last question. Jason wants to know about Ty Montgomery. What's going on with Mr. Montgomery? Do you think this is the game that we will see more of Montgomery playing in the same uniform?
Well, Kyle, again, unless Sean Payton has yours or my phone number, they don't have anybody else at wide receiver. Ty Montgomery was brought on board mainly for his receiving abilities, to kind of bolster depth there. So this is the time where that young man now has the opportunity to step forward. And he is a good receiver. He's physical. He has very good open field running ability, and he can be used in the slot or outside, as well as running back, like we've seen in the past. With Deontay and Trey Hendrickson, Traquan Smith, starting, I would expect Ty Montgomery to be the third or fourth receiver this Sunday.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk about what's happening with our corners right now. Janoris Jenkins has been playing really, really good football, and Marshawn Lattimore has not been playing really, really good football. And Chauncey Gordon-Johnson is still, in my opinion, an incomplete, I would say, because he hasn't been as flashy as his rookie season. But in the last game, you did notice that his presence was being felt against some of the guys in the slots. And he had a couple of good stops, and he did miss I think he missed the sack on Bridgewater, right? Yeah. So, but right now, Bob, let's look at Jenkins and compare him to Lattimore. Right now, when you look at Jenkins has been allowing a reception rate of 58.3%. Lattimore has been giving up 78.3%. Any thoughts about those numbers right there?
Janoris passes the eye test. Marshawn does not right now. I don't know whether he's slumping or what the case is with him, because we know he's capable. We saw he's capable as recently as week 1. When he had another outstanding performance against Mike Evans. You and I have a decent pulse on social media, and we see the comments, the jokes. Maybe someone should tell Marshawn Lattimore that Mike Evans is playing for Chicago this weekend. But listen, we see Marshawn do this against some of the other top wideouts too. Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, are just a couple that come to mind. So I don't know what the deal with Lattimore is right now. He's been inconsistent at best, like you said. And with a cornerback, assuming you have the physical abilities, which he does, outside of that, confidence is everything. And you watch Marshawn Lattimore, and he's not playing like a guy with a great deal of confidence right now, and I'm not sure why that is. I think that this Bears receiving core, although they do have some players, and we'll get into them in a minute, this Bears passing attack is tailor-made for a confidence boost for that entire Saints secondary. But when you have a shutdown cornerback like Marshawn Lattimore, and I've called him among the league's top 2, 3, 4 cornerbacks on more than one occasion, you have to start playing like it. And he, like you pointed out, just with the numbers tell us that he's not. It's as simple as that.
Do you believe that he sometimes has a lack of interest in who he plays? So you have some guys who, like you say, once they play guys at a high level, they're engaged and ready. And guys who are just, okay, whatever, I could cover that guy, no big deal. You have that type of feeling. Do you think it's that, or more that is there something else that's hampering his performance?
As we know, he had a bit of a hamstring issue earlier in the year. We've not heard whether he's still struggling with that or not. But as far as the first thing you pointed out, as you know, and as our great friend and expert draft analyst Mike Detillier could tell us too, that's kind of been the book on Marshawn Lattimore since college at Ohio State, was that he does lose interest at times and almost comes across as a lazy player. I'm not calling him lazy, but I've heard that term thrown at him before. That he isn't the hardest practice guy. That he's not going to be the hardest working guy in practice on your team. And that you look at him from time to time in different matchups, and you do kind of shake your head and you wonder if this guy's head even in the game right now. So again, that's been the book on him in college. He came out guns blazing. You don't win Defensive Rookie of the Year by not playing every single week. And again, the numbers that he has against some of the league's elite wideouts tells us that he's capable of doing it. So maybe that is the case.
Yeah, definitely talented, definitely an elite cornerback. So let's look at this. He's been targeted 23 times. He gives up 78% of the passes thrown to him. The quarterbacks are completing rates at, get this QBR, Bob, 155.9. That's almost perfect.
I thought I was sick before.
155. I was astonished when I saw this, man. I was like, wow. Lattimore usually has the number one receiver assignment. So therefore, I can see where some of the earlier teams that we have played, where some of those number one receivers are going to have higher completion rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of give him a pass, but I don't. I don't know if I really can. Janoris Jenkins, throughout the season, he's had two bad games. He had a bad game against the Packers and the Raiders, right? But Carolina, he had a pretty good game, as well as Tampa, of course, with the pick six that he had against Tom Brady. Now, if we look at Lattimore from 2017, this is his ratings from Pro Football Focus. And I'm going to read them in the orders going up to 2020, guys. 86.6, rookie year, rookie of the year, right? 77.5, then drops down to 65.6. At this time, he's at a 49.
Wow.
Okay. That's a concern. All right. Now, his rookie year, this is how he was allowing quarterbacks to complete his rookie year. He only gave up 53.8%. 2018, 64.3. 2019, 56.1. He got better, but this year, 78.3. So he the only one big highlight he has had this season thus far is how two. I would give him two. Stopping Evans in the first game and stopping Mike Williams to be able to win the game for us against the Los Angeles Chargers. So your thoughts?
What I would like to see Dennis Allen do with his top two cornerbacks, and this is something that we haven't seen from them, from either Janoris or Marshawn since week one. Both of those guys are at their best when you ask them to basically man up. This is your man. You take him, you shadow him, you play physical with him. Both of those players, they flourish in that kind of role. And you have to wonder if each cornerback, along with P.J. Williams and my favorite guy, Patrick Robinson, you have to wonder if the poor safety play that they know is happening behind them, how much is that playing a role into their mental game and their approach to their receivers? Are they afraid now of giving up we know Patrick Robinson isn't afraid of giving up the big play. I had to. But especially Marshawn. Is Marshawn playing a little bit afraid? And that's a strong term, I realize. Afraid of giving up the deep play. Therefore, he's back on his heels a little bit. And as a result, he's given up more plays in front of him. It's just a thought, because you know as well as I do, with the secondary play, one thing trickles down into another.
So here's what I believe, and I've heard this argument before. You still have your assignments,
yeah,
and if you don't play well according to your own assignments, you can't worry about who else is on the field at that time. You have to have some blinders on, right? You have to be kind of unconscious consciously. Does that make sense? All right. Yeah. All right. So therefore, I just think they're playing poorly, man. I think Lattimore hasn't played up to his ability, and it could be a tweak in the hamstring. It could be, but if you look at some of the tape, and I replayed the Carolina game, he still has ability. He has the tendency, I should say, and proclivity to trail his receivers. Okay, and Carolina did not have blazing receivers.
No, they didn't. We know how talented DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are.
I gotta say Robbie Anderson, but go on. Yeah.
But those guys, we've seen Lattimore and Jenkins, for that matter, shut down receivers of equal caliber before, several times before. And like you said, I'm sick and tired of watching them trail the play. I think that if they are allowed, if they let themselves be more physical with receivers at the line of scrimmage, that would throw off those quick routes that we're seeing these guys get beat on. But when you do that, you do leave yourself susceptible to plays over the top. And as you said a couple times tonight, the entire secondary is playing poorly. Yeah, if you had to pick one man out of the bunch, that's playing a little bit better than everybody else, I would say probably Janoris, but he's not lighting the world on fire either. The whole secondary is playing poorly, and poorly to the level of the type of thing that could end your season or keep you from even getting to the postseason.
Yeah, I heard Pat Kerwin today on Sirius Radio. He said this. He said the Saints secondary makes them vulnerable. And the vulnerability is going to be a problem if you are a team that is projected to make a Super Bowl run. Uh-huh. And if you cannot stop the pass, especially at critical times in a game, you're going to lose and go home early. And we've seen it throughout the past 3 playoff losses for the Saints. It all came down to when pass plays needed to be stopped, either if it was from a lack of pass rush or a lack of attentiveness from the defensive backfield. It doesn't matter. The defense has a problem stopping the pass. So therefore, whose fault is it? Is it Dennis Allen's fault, or is it the personnel, or is it the combination of either? So, and it's rhetorical when I'm asking this, right? So, I don't know, man. Look, Lattimore has given up. These are the longest plays he's given up in each game. Tampa Bay, 9. Raiders, 20. The Packers game, 48. 49 and 10. 10 yards this past weekend. That was the longest. Okay. So if you look at Janoris Jenkins, 37 yards was his longest, 19, 5, and 4. Okay. I think we have some issues that now I heard Coach when he was in the press conference on Monday, he said he thought we cleaned up some of the things we need to revisit. Or it was a Sunday night after the game. I think it was Sunday, I believe he said.
Yeah, I think so.
So do you make a change somewhere? Or do you bring in some help, Bob?
Well, I don't think there's any answers on the roster currently. This is the team that you went in. This is the group that you went into this season with. And on paper, Lattimore is a Pro Bowler. Janoris is a Pro Bowler. Malcolm Jenkins is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Marcus Williams is should have been a Pro Bowler, or arguably could have been a Pro Bowler as a rookie in a second round all rookie selection. Mm-hmm. You have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who is playing better, and like you said, showed us something in the slot last week, and is going to be asked to do more of that, I think, this through the rest of the season. But if one or more of those guys don't step up, who are you going to replace them with on the roster? DJ Swearinger, maybe as a deep safety. But outside of that, if Sean Payton doesn't, and we're at your tipping point. We're at your decision line of decision making is now. if they have another poor performance, especially in the back end at the safety spot on Sunday, the trade deadline is next Tuesday. You do still have some interesting names, some capable names on the waiver wire right now that you could bring in at at safety.
Who are those?
Oh gosh, I think one of your writers wrote about them this past week. By the way,
I don't know. I don't know any writer who wrote about these at all.
Some pretty guy. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you have this is on waivers now. Tony Jefferson, who's garnering quite a bit of interest through the league right now. Eric Reed, Clinton Dix, which I'm not sure is a viable cover option. Antoine Bethea, who's lost a step but is still a capable deep guy. Same with Rashad Jones. I think I don't know whether I mentioned Eric Reed yet or not.
You did.
And then the name that I was saving till last, Earl Thomas, who comes with all kinds of character concerns. And I got my piece to say about that too, but you go first.
Guys, don't believe the hype. I don't know what's been going on in the National Football League for people to keep saying Earl Thomas is this character, right? Okay, so he got upset with the guy on the Ravens, and must have been several blow-ups he's had, right? Okay, they get rid of him. Stupid. Why didn't you trade him? In my opinion, I'm thinking Earl Thomas, is he not tradable?
You would think.
Okay. All right. They had to prove a point. I don't know if Ozzie Newsome would have handled it that way, in my opinion. Right. Okay. So anyway, so he's on the market, and the Dallas Cowboys, who desperately need some help, Jerry Jones and his all righteousness decides, we're not. The guys in the locker room decided they don't want Earl Thomas. Did you see how you guys have been playing? Do you guys have a right to be to make this decision? Am I wrong?
No.
It's just like if your child brings home D, C, F. Oh, but you did get an A in PE. Now that's okay. Well, I don't want to go and do my homework. I think I want to stay up. Oh, go ahead right there. You have no more decision-making power in this house. You're going to go do your homework and extra work when I tell you. Okay, so what are you saying, Kyle? Well, I'm glad you asked. What I'm saying is this. I think it's crazy that Earl Thomas is still sitting out there on the market. I think it's humbling that he and Eric Reed are still sitting out there on the market. So therefore, if you had any questions about their character, right? It's an easy leash to pull these guys, or hook to get them out of the locker room, right? You don't have to sign this huge contract to be able to keep them the next several games of your season. So that's why I don't understand the logic from these general managers or from these NFL pundits. I don't understand this logic. You need talent. Go get the talent. If they become a problem, find someone else or just suffer through it.
Yeah, and honestly, Kyle, I couldn't agree with you more. It's truly as simple as that. It'd be different if you were drafting a guy with those kind of concerns.
Not drafting, right? Thank you.
Or looking to sign him with a big free agent deal, but you're not looking to do either. The Saints. We've talked about the character of this Saints locker room so many times. So why would signing a guy like Earl Thomas, who has had issues, and he had issues in Seattle too. Why would that be a concern to you? You look at the team now. Carl Granderson had some problems, legal problems coming out of college. Jared Cook earlier in his career at different stops, specifically when he was with Tennessee. I think the Rams too. But he caused some issues. Janoris Jenkins has had red flag concerns since his college days, right up to the moment. How'd the Saints get Janoris Jenkins, folks? They picked him up on waivers. Why was he on waivers? Well, the Giants released him, and it wasn't because of poor play.
No, said some craziness about a handicapped kid. So yeah.
And I mean, it was awful what he said, and he apologized for it. And let's not belabor that point. But another way, and the Saints, I don't think it was ever serious, but the Saints brought Antonio Brown in for an interview and a workout last year. That's the king of character concerns on the face of the earth, if you ask me. So no, and I agree with you, Kyle. I don't think that the Saints and Sean Payton would shy away from an Earl Thomas or an Eric Reed if he thought that they could help him, help his team win. And if you're all in for the Super Bowl and your most glaring weakness is your secondary in a pass-happy league, you have to make a move. You have to.
Let me throw this scenario out at you. Let's say Nick Foles decides to, because it looks like Robinson may not play, right?
Right.
If Robinson, their number one receiver, is not playing, and I looked at the numbers from those guys, the other three guys that played, they were not good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you have Jimmy Graham. So Jimmy Graham is going to be put on who?
I think it's going to be a combination of Demario Davis, and Malcolm Jenkins is going to have his shots too.
No way Malcolm is going to be able to stay with him.
No.
There's no way whatsoever. Okay. Now, here's the problem. If you can't keep Demario on him the whole game.
No.
Right? So who do you use? Do you use Zach Bond? Is there a possibility?
Not at this stage of his career. Athletically, Bond can keep up with him. But Graham's just too savvy a route runner.
So do you use Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
That's a possibility. But if you do that, then you open up the slot to Javon Wims, Ted Ginn, or Cordero Patterson if Patterson plays. None of those guys have great numbers, as you pointed out, Kyle, but all three of them can and will beat you deep.
All right. How about this? Get Jenkins out of the lineup and put Schweringer in.
Yes, please.
Okay. So DJ Schweringer is bigger, right? He can handle and he's a nasty player,
Yeah.
He has that nasty streak about him as well. You ain't going to take no stuff from a Jimmy Graham. It might just get under Graham's skin, And Jimmy is not the Jimmy that we have known from the Saints, early Saints days,
Not even close.
Not even close. But I believe Schweringer can be able to be a problem for him more than Jenkins or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So that's where I was leading in this. So Nick Foles is going to probably rely on Graham as well as is it Miller? The other guy?
Anthony Miller, yeah.
Yeah, other guy that could possibly be problematic for the Saints, right? So who's going to be on Miller? Most likely that's going to draw the assignment of Jenkins, right? Because Miller, now if I'm not mistaken, Miller sometimes is more of a slot player. So that could be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. All right. So if Nick Foles has a career day, before I get to that locker room, I'm yelling up at the press box to Loomis, we need to make a deal somewhere, some way, somehow.
Yep.
And I think you're going to find several different teams on Monday making deals left and right.
Okay? Yeah, I think you could.
I want to talk about the contenders. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think you could too. And you referred to the two Viking safeties, Anthony Harris and Harrison Smith. Folks, I know the postseason history between Minnesota and New Orleans, but that affects us more as fans than it does those guys. The Vikings and Saints never hesitated to make a deal with one another. If Minnesota loses this game, you could see either or both of those safeties dealt. And like you said, Kyle, if I'm Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, I'm probably already on the phone with them anyway. But if you give up a big passing day to Nick Foles and the Chicago receivers who will likely be without Allen Robinson, then there is zero excuse in the world to not make a move in some way, shape, or form in that secondary.
Yeah. So the only way Nick Foles gives up, well, I shouldn't say he gives up, only has a big day, is the fact that the New Orleans Saints pass rush becomes anemic.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the blueprint has been set, and everybody in the NFL saw it on Monday night. So their center is out for this game. That interior already has issues. If the Saints cannot capitalize in rushing with some games and stunts here and there and putting pressure on Foles, because Foles doesn't like the pressure in his face. That's where he makes his mistakes. I think if Dennis Allen does not have a good game called, that's going to be an issue. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I do too. And not only did you point out the Bears center, but the Bears have had a heck of a time protecting, pass protection from the outside, from both tackles. And Cam Jordan is going to be lined up most of the time on Bobby Massey, their right tackle. And we saw Foles start to roll out a lot more against the Rams this past Monday night, especially when Whitehair went down, because you have a backup center dealing with Aaron Donald. You don't want to get your quarterback killed. Foles is a right-handed quarterback. He's going to be rolling most often to what side? The right side.
Right side. Yeah.
And we saw both Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Herbert in the last couple games break containment and escape the pressure. Otherwise, the Saints would have had a lot more sacks than what they already do. But by escaping pressure off to that side, they've left their secondary hung out to dry. So I'm not concerned with the Saints getting pressure on Foles. I am more concerned about the fact that they need to finish plays and get him onto the ground, those defensive tackles and defensive ends.
Good point. Whitehair was on the injury report as well.
Yeah, like you said, Whitehair's out. That's the center. Coward, their left guard, was on the injury report earlier in the week. I didn't see him on there today, though.
Okay, and I typed the injury report. Hold on. Okay, so the Bears being out, only Whitehair. Allen Robinson is doubtful. Questionable is Eddie Jackson knee. Khalil Mack, there's no question he's playing. And Cadell.
I think Eddie will too.
Yeah. Cadell Patterson had a quadricep injury is questionable. Most likely that means he'll play as well. All right. Now, what's kind of interesting is that early on in the week, Ted Ginn didn't practice, but he has practiced since. We may see Ted Ginn in the game.
That would be interesting. And I think Teddy only has like 4 catches on the year. We've seen him, regress badly over the last couple of years, but I think he still has the speed to make plays deep. As certainly does Patterson if he plays. This Bears receiving core, there again, outside of Allen Robinson, and I'm a big fan of Anthony Miller, they're not going to wow you, but they have the deep speed to beat the Saints where they have been most vulnerable.
Yeah. And don't forget, Cole Kmet, he made a few plays the past couple of weeks. The tight end, the young tight end, and I remember one game, Jimmy was kind of upset because he wanted that touchdown call to him, and they decided to go with Kmet, and it went to him instead. So those guys are playing, and that's another thing. I forgot about Kmet. He becomes a problem as well. So I saw Swearinger not being active last game. There's a possibility do the Saints kind of make it a priority to keep him as part of the active squad to be able to handle these tight ends that they're going to face on Sunday. All right, Jason, even if Foles doesn't have a career game, Loomis still needs to make a trade. Yes, I agree. We agree. A trade or an acquisition, right?
Yeah. Remember, Jason, it takes two. It takes 2 to trade, and for all we know, Minnesota might not be willing to trade either of those safeties, or might have an asking price too high. And I'm just using the Vikings for an example because when I was going through potential trade partners for the Saints as far as positions of need, that's what jumped out to me the most. It's easy for any of us to sit here and say, "Oh, the Saints should make a trade. How dare they not make a trade?" Well, you have other teams vying for that, for those same players, or perhaps they're not even on the market. But like you said, Kyle, Loomis has to. The Saints, if they choose to make a move, there's still plenty of talent available on the free agent wire too. Shockingly.
Yeah, shockingly. Shockingly is right. Now, there's some bad teams out there. Is there anyone from the Jaguars that you can see?
Truthfully, Kyle, not really at positions of need for the Saints.
Okay. So who else is? Let's go AFC. Anyone else in the AFC that's not having a good year?
The Jets and Quinnen Williams, who seems to be one of the few players that they have, star players that they haven't dealt away. But again, you bring in a talented player like Quinnen Williams. Where are you going to fit him? Who's going to sit down? He's of course a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. I haven't heard too many complaints about the way the Saints defensive tackles have been playing this year.
Even Rankins had a solid play on Sunday. So now here's a question. Let me play devil's advocate. Rankins is in his last season with the Saints. Could they use him as a possibility to trade?
Sure, it's entirely possible. And again, because of the way that the rest of those defensive tackles are playing, Onyemata is balling out. We've seen Roach, Shai Tuttle, Malcolm Brown. They've all had their moments too. So you could dangle somebody like Sheldon Rankins to get a top shelf safety, like an Anthony Harris or Harrison Smith. And that would save you from using draft capital too. I don't know that we'll see that because, you're talking about, again, if you're going to make a deal with a team that's out of contention, it's because that team is looking to kind of do a salary dump themselves. Now while bringing in a player like Rankins, whose deal expires at the end of the season, like you pointed out, that won't hurt a team like the Minnesota Vikings salary cap wise beyond 2020, but it doesn't help them either, because if you're going to dump a veteran, you're going to be looking for draft picks or someone to build your future around.
Right. I agree. I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Let's look at the NFC side of the ball, right? Now, the Eagles are at 2-4, still in contention of possibly winning that division, with the Cowboys slipping more and more. But the Cowboys, do they have anybody that may be potentially a good signing or fit for the Saints? Or what about the Giants?
Again, not really in the secondary. All four of those NFC East teams, actually the NFC East team that I think has the most interesting players in the secondary are the Eagles. But they've underperformed just like New Orleans has. Dallas's pass defense has been abysmal. The Giants pretty similarly, and I don't know what Washington has back there. I think they do have some young players, but they haven't played particularly good against the pass either. And again, my eye would be at bringing in help for the secondary. A pass rusher, if it's an elite one, maybe, like we've heard J.J. Watt's name thrown around a couple of times. You don't say no to that kind of deal, but it's not going to happen either. And outside of that, who are you going to get off any of the teams that you mentioned that are going to legitimately take snaps away from a Cam Jordan or a David Onyemata or a Marcus Davenport or Trey Hendrickson? Nobody.
Okay. What about on the Chargers? We just played those guys. Or on the Broncos?
I won't lie. I would love to see a deal for a guy like Melvin Ingram of the Chargers. Or they have a cornerback. He was banged up against New Orleans, and his name escapes me. But he's a solid man-to-man defender. Denver has some young safeties. A guy like Justin Simmons, who's playing on the franchise tag. He's a Pro Bowl safety that they may have a hard time re-signing after this year unless they franchise tag him again. He could be a guy that's available. Or Kareem Jackson, former Pro Bowl or Pro Bowl cornerback I know, but I'm just throwing out names. But just like you, the different teams or different names that we could all list. Both you and I would probably either shake our head at saying, no, they won't help, or no, I can't see it happening. Honestly, Kyle, I can't see if the trade deadline comes and goes and the Saints aren't able or don't make a deal, it would not surprise me whatsoever.
Okay. What about last team? What about for the Bengals?
Bengals pass defense has been horrid. And you've seen other quarterbacks pick them apart. They have some young cornerbacks that could be helpful in the right system. But you figure they already overhauled that unit. They let 3 cornerbacks walk this offseason. Now, a guy I would love to see back in a Saints uniform, speaking of Cincinnati, is Von Bell. But can you really see Cincinnati making that move, though? They signed Bond to a 3-year deal, 4-year deal? He's still a young player, and you have a young offense that you're going to want to build around. So would you want to trade away a young defender unless he's massively underperforming?
Okay. Here's a good question. I think we are using Marcus Williams wrong. He needs to play deep off the ball where he can be able to use his range. I also believe we should play more of a complementary defense and less press coverage. What's your thoughts there?
Beast, that's a great call out. But the thing about Marcus Williams is his primary position is as deep safety, often as single high safety with the way Dennis Allen aligns his coverages. So he's already in deep coverage. And I won't deny that young man has outstanding range, but he doesn't trust his instincts, and he constantly puts himself. He's either making the wrong decision or he's taking a poor angle. It's not the athleticism that I worry about with Marcus Williams. It's right up here. He's not putting himself in the positions to succeed. Now, there have been times that they've moved Marcus up in a slot coverage role, but it doesn't happen very often. So you're right. If Marcus, would be used, since Marcus is used mainly as your deep safety, you would expect him to have a better performance with the athletic range that he has. But that's exactly what we're sitting here criticizing right now. Is that he is? It's not his athleticism. It's right up here.
All right. Okay, so the Saints are going to be without Marquez Callaway, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. We say the Saints should focus on the run. In the defensive side, the front seven should be able to take advantage of the porous offensive line that the Bears have and be able to win that up front and causing less pressure to be placed on the secondary. Is that about sums it up?
That's football 101. But if you're gonna throw a scouting report out, for both sides of the ball, that hits all the major points right on the head.
Okay, guys, you have any questions for Bob Rose before we get off the air? Put them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel. Hit us up as well. Subscribe as well. And also on Twitter, follow Bob at Bobby R412?
At Bobby R2613 on Twitter. And then Bob Rose on Facebook.
I don't know how he came up with the 2613, but that's okay. All right, guys. Jason says, what about Pierre Desir?
I like Pierre. He was banged up a little bit for the Colts last year, but he's a good defensive back option. He more excels in off the ball coverage, but he is extremely athletic and aggressive, and he understands opposing offenses and reads opposing quarterbacks pretty well. That would be an upgrade to your cornerback depth. Again, he's not going to step in for and potentially play the role of a safety in nickel or dime packages. But again, we're not looking for someone to replace Marshawn Lattimore or Janoris Jenkins, just to bolster depth. And I don't know how much Pierre would help your deep safety play.
Okay, cool. All right, Beast, thank you.
Thank you, Beast.
Keep up listening. Thank you for supporting. All right, guys, we're about to wrap up, and I want to hear your predictions out there. Predictions. All right, Bob, how do you see the game unfolding?
The secondary worries me, as I know it does you and every single Saints fan out there. But I think that New Orleans will be able to get to Foles. I definitely think that the Saints front seven is going to squash that Bears running attack and make Chicago beat them with the pass. But again, as long as I see the Saints having a big game against Foles and pressuring him, getting him onto the ground. Offensively, you might not see the Saints run for 200 yards, but I do see a running game being effective. I think Kamara and Cook are both going to have big days as receivers too. And look for a deep play from a guy like Deontay Harris to take some of that underneath coverage pressure off. Saints offensive line is going to have their hands full, even if Khalil Mack doesn't play. And I agree with you, Kyle. I know he will. But the Bears just bring so much pressure that they're going to have to get the ball out of Breeze's hands fast. And as long as Teron Armstead is healthy, and he was full practice participant at the end of the week, I think that the Saints should be able to establish balance and that starts with establishing balance at the line of scrimmage. I think the Saints are going to come out of this with a 24-13 victory.
Okay, awesome. Okay, any other predictions, Jason? I saw you had yours. The Saints 27, Bears 17. Also, Jason said we need everyone back for Tampa Bay. Yes, that's going to be a big game. That might be one of the keys why the Saints, after doing the installs and looking at everything, decided to hold Callaway as well as Thomas back.
It's extremely possible. Not that they have, again, no disrespect to the Bears and especially that defense. But that your game plan going into against a defense like Chicago Bears, your game plan is not going to be to throw the ball 40, 45 times a game. Because if it is, that means you've fallen behind and you're not going to come back against the Chicago defense. You're going to use your running backs, your tight ends, and your receivers on shorter patterns. So I wouldn't want Michael Thomas banged up either. I would want to save Callaway as well, not knowing how serious that ankle injury is or the imminent return of Emmanuel Sanders. So, yeah, I think you're onto something.
Yeah. I always say this is the point of the season where all the guys that had great starts start to cool off as well. And those who had kind of rocky starts start to heat up. So you see the pretenders and the contenders, right? And I think right now we saw a lot of pretenders early on in the season. Think about it. The Bears only played the Lions, the Giants, the Falcons, the Colts, the Bucks, and the Panthers, right? And they lost against the Colts, and they lost against
Rams.
The Rams, right? And I forgot the Rams. So the guys they did win, like the Lions and the Giants and the Falcons, if you look at those records there, and Lions is a pretty good team. They gave us some fits early on in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see where this Bears team, and I think the Buccaneers just made some mistakes in their game plan altogether. I watched that game. I was surprised how inconsistent they were playing. But if you look at everything as a whole, as what this Bears team is, when people say the Bears defense is at this rank and that rank, I think it's not telling the whole truth.
Right.
Okay. So the Saints, you said they may not have 200 yards rushing. I believe they could. Right. And I don't know if Sean Payton is patient enough to allow them to.
That's the issue.
That's the one caveat, right? But Bob, when you look at everything, if this team is able to ground it out in a cold weather type of situation, do you think it makes more sense to do that, especially to protect a 41-year-old quarterback on that cold turf in Soldier Field? Because the temperature is going to start dropping at 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time, right? And it starts getting cold off of that lake.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is that I think it makes more sense for this team to decide to really grind it out on Sunday. So let's see here. Taysom. All right. Hey guys. Hey, how you doing? All right. Good to hear from you. I don't know who you are, but it just says Facebook user. How you doing? All right. Beast. Hopefully Taysom has some carries as a running back. Yeah. It's a good possibility too. Taysom could be important. I have the score 31-20. That's my prediction. 31-20. All right, that's Diva. What's happening, Diva? Sarita, the Diva Batiste. All right. We're going to have I've been promising this. We're going to have a Saints News alumni show.
I love it.
I can't get these guys all on the same page, man. We've got to have that show before the season's out. Jason, we need to run AK, Montgomery, Murray against the Bears defense. Yes. All right. Any last tidbits, news, comments, Mr. Rose, before we sign off?
Well, I hope this is that the New Orleans Saints, start us off on All Saints Day, with an extra, a belated Halloween treat, and I hope that they come dressed as contenders and not pretenders. And outside of that, thank you again for everybody that's tuning in to our Friday broadcast, and you have yourselves a very happy but very safe Halloween.
Bob, how can everybody follow you on the World Wide Web?
Can be followed on Twitter at BobbyR2613. Of course, over on Facebook, just look for Bob Rose. And don't forget to follow and join our Bayou Blitz Facebook group as well. There's a lot of great Facebook groups out there, and hopefully you're a member. If you're a Saints fan, you're a member of a few of them. But our Bayou Blitz, you guys are family. You guys make Kyle and I look like we know what we're doing, especially me. And all kinds of really good, solid dialogue in there. Everybody watches each other's back, so there's no bullying or disrespectful behavior or anything like that. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you're a part of the Bayou Blitz Facebook family.
Cool. Don't forget to follow us at Saints News on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as any social media chain. We're at Saints News. Yeah, that's how you follow us. Go to si.com/NFL/Saints for the latest in New Orleans Saints news. I am Kyle T. Mosley. That is Bob Rose. Boo that. Have a great weekend. You guys stay safe out there. And Bob, you, Will, and Lauren, I hope you guys have a great time. I would like to see the photos of your Halloween costume, man.
Well, and you for sure will. And that's the other thing, folks. If you follow me on social media, you'll get to see what I dress up as tomorrow. Hint, hint. I'm prettier in person, but it'll be an interesting look.
Can't wait, guys. Thank you for following us. We're going to have more details about the New Orleans Saints on tomorrow as well as on Sunday. John Hendricks as well as Brendan Boylan would have the pregame report before the Saints take the football field. And Bob Rose and myself will have the halftime report immediately as halftime commences. Kyle T. Mosley here, signing off. You guys be safe. And to our friends and family and the people in Louisiana, we hope you guys recover. We hope that you get the power back on. I hope you guys, especially Grand Isle, you guys will hit hard down there. And we just pray for you guys to be able to come back and bounce back. All right? Take care. All right. Have a good night, Bob.
You too, Kyle. Who dat?